But it does seem like there are a lot of reasons to be a little stressed out these days, and it might be about the weather, climate change, and also maybe the election. A fall report from the American Psychological Association found that Americans were deeply concerned about the consequences of the 2024 election, with 70% of U.S. adults pointing to the presidential election as a significant source of stress. And for many Americans, the bad feelings have persisted and in some cases grown in the time since Donald Trump won back the presidency. But our next guest says it's normal to feel a sense of shock or sadness in the aftermath of an election that didn't go your way. Joining us now, professor at the Harvard Kennedy and Business Schools, Arthur Brooks. He's written 13 books, most with a focus on finding happiness and meaning in life. Well, it's good to have you back on the show.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Good. So what are you thinking about this? I mean, especially with these survey results, how can people process perhaps the feelings that they are having at this moment?
Well, people are having a lot of negative reactions to it and doing a lot of counterproductive things like ruminating on the election.
Yeah.
How could it have turned out differently? Personalizing the election, catastrophizing the election. The truth is, if we look at it just in historical terms, if you didn't like what happened in November, your time will come soon enough. I mean, these things just go back and forth, and soon enough you'll be feeling victorious and the other side will be down in the dumps. This is really a much bigger opportunity for us to reflect on why it is that happiness in the United States has been ticking down over the past 30 years. A big part of it is that we're actually not tending to our happiness hygiene, the habits in our local communities, in our families, in the people around us. We're paying too much attention to what's going on far away. If you pay attention and personalize things that are far away from you, woe be unto you. If you pay attention to what's close to you, you have an opportunity to change things in a way that will enrich your life. And this is what I'm telling people all the time. Remember what matters. What matters is not what you're seeing on TV. Watch less TV, except Morning Joe. It's important. And what matters? Your faith, your family life, your friendships, the meaning that you get through the work that you do every day to earn your daily bread. These are the things that really matter. When we lose track of this and we're paying attention to the national elections, well, of course we're getting depressed. No matter what, they're trying to make us depressed and angry and fire us up. That's how you get eyeballs and viewers and votes and followers, and we're the product.
Well, let me ask you, though, because there certainly seems to be, it's well chronicled that this time around, the people who did not vote for Donald Trump had seemed like checked out. We've seen that in terms of viewership. We've seen that in terms of social media engagement, newspaper subscriptions, lots of metrics that suggest that. But is that what you endorse? Like pretend that it's not happening, like check out? But that also leads to potentially a dangerous lack of civic engagement.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems that we have today, however, and this is a phenomenon that we've seen over the past 10 years, is the people who would have been involved as good citizens in their local communities, volunteering, paying attention, getting involved in local politics, are substituting a new kind of behavior, which is being as informed as possible about national politics. Being outraged at the TV at prime time talking about politics is not a substitute for citizenship. It just isn't. And good citizenship is a responsibility of all of us. And by the way, brings happiness. But just paying attention and being outraged is not citizenship and will not bring happiness. I'm not talking about checking out. I'm talking about checking in to what really matters and getting involved in the things that you can affect.
Arthur, I first encountered you when you were the president of American Enterprise Institute, one of the most powerful think tanks in the world.
I like to think so.
Exactly. And so that was such a hard-charging political job. Definitely had, a component to it that is so different, dramatically different from what you're doing now.
Right.
How did you just switch off and turn to this Zen Arthur Brooks?
I've done this a bunch of times. I mean, early on, the first 12 years of my career, I was a professional classical French horn player in the Barcelona Orchestra, believe it or not. Whoa. And then I left and went to college and got my PhD and became a behavioral scientist. And then I quit that and then went and ran a think tank for 11 years. And then I came back to becoming a scientist. And what happened was I actually had an experience that I recommend to a lot of people when you're thinking about making a change in your life. This is a process called discernment in almost every religious tradition. I walked the Camino de Santiago, which is this 800-kilometer walk across northern Spain to discern what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I found, as I was thinking and praying, that I wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to lifting people up and bringing them together in bonds of happiness and love, using science and ideas. So I returned to my science roots. I went to Harvard. I started a laboratory in leadership and happiness, and that's what I write, speak, and teach about. Now, I talk about politics all the time, but I don't talk about how to win. I talk about how to love, and how your political alignments and how your statements and how you can get involved, how it can enhance your life and enhance the lives of other people as well.
What do you think? And so you don't want to completely tune out to what's happening on the national level, though.
No.
So how do you tell people to strike some kind of balance?
Give us a hygiene plan.
Okay, so let's just be
we need
practical.
a plan.
Let's just be
Weeks
really
and I
practical.
need- we need some data points.
Yeah,
we need
yeah.
a plan. Yeah.
So here, the way to be very practical about this is not do it all day long. What's happening is that you're actually affecting the neurochemistry. And inside your head, you're affecting the dopamine in your brain. You're going for a little hit. What's new? What can I learn? What will give me some satisfaction? It's like hitting a slot machine over and over again, or eating a brownie every half hour, or all of the destructive behaviors that
sounds
actually
great.
are bad for us. And so what I recommend is, okay, you want to be informed, you want to read political news, you want to watch political news, fine. One period during the day, during a very, very particular time, and don't look at it at all
6
on
to 10
social
a.m.
media.
Get up. 6 to 10
For
a.m.
example,
is the-
6 to
all
10
right.
a.m. the entire 4 hours.
Caddy K right here.
Yeah.
Caddy.
Okay, I'm loving this happy love bubble up in New York, and maybe it's because I'm sitting in Washington about 100 yards away from Capitol Hill, but I'm struggling down here, Arthur.
Okay.
And look, particularly in this world of this. I
Yeah.
mean, you just mentioned it there, but social media seems designed to make
Yeah.
us less happy.
Yeah.
And designed to make
It
us
really
love each other
does.
less.
Like,
Social
dangerously
media,
so.
well, social media is designed to addict us, not to make us less happy. One of the side effects is it makes us less happy. The reason it makes us less happy, by the way, besides just addicting us and distracting us, is that it makes it impossible for us to access a part of our brain called the default mode network. These are the structures in our brain that we use when we're thinking about nothing, or we're bored, or our mind is wandering, and we need those structures for us to find meaning. So here's the problem. If you're being distracted all the time, every single second you pull the thing out of your pocket and you look at it, you never access this part of your brain. You stop thinking about issues of meaning. You start substituting what you see on the phone and on social media for the big questions of meaning in your life, and you get less unhappy. It's just a 1, 2, 3 phenomenon. Nobody's trying to make you miserable. They're trying to make themselves rich. They're trying to get your eyeballs and every single second of your attention. And when you give it to them, that's when meaning is sucked out of your life. It's sapped from you. By the way, this is the #1 reason for the mental health crisis for people under 30 today.
Yes.
Because they've never even grown up in a time where they didn't have the distraction device. So I didn't have this growing up.
Very
Thank
worried.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no social media. I had no dating apps. I had to do everything the old way, and I was bored a lot.
You had to learn to be bored.
I had to learn to be bored, and I had to learn the meaning of
Yeah.
my life, and that's exactly what's bereft in the lives of so many young people today who are freaking out as a result.
I think we need to do another segment with you on that.
Yeah.
Because that's a crisis.
It's absolutely a crisis for all of us and all of our adult children and the people that we love.
Our adult children. Professor at the Harvard Kennedy and Business School, Arthur Brooke, thank you very much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Delighted.
We
Thank you,
will,
Professor.
we will try and follow. Up next.